I would say that the internet and the industry surrounded by the internet today is about where automobiles were in 1905. And that if you get in now, there's a real good chance you can make something of yourself and your company quickly.
The internet levels the playing field from small business to large business. You're both out there competing essentially with the same presence.
I actually spent some time trying to think of what business it wasn't good for, and I really had to rack my brains and haven't come up with anything.
The internet is potentially the ultimate marketing and communication tool for small business.
Every month, the internet population grows by 10 to 15%. It's doubling every 53 days. By the year 2000, experts say the internet will connect as many as 100 million computers. These statements came from a recent Business Week article. This rapidly changing technology is making a lot of head spin. Are you trying to understand what a World Wide Web is, or a home page, or a graphical browser? Does trying to make sense out of all this make you want to take a couple of these? If you'll stay with us for a while, we'll try to eliminate some of your confusion about the internet. In fact, at the end of this tape, you just might be ready to take the internet plunge for yourself, your company, or your organization.
I really suggest that someone who is brand new take advantage of one of the organizations that are a little bit easier to navigate, such as America Online or CompuServe.
The traditional ones that you see today, like CompuServe, America Online, Microsoft Network, are all providing enough internet connectivity for the novice user to get their feet wet and understand the technology, and from there determine if they really want to go with a full-fledged connection.
And I'm really not at all a technically oriented person, but I found the internet really easy to use. I know I've got a lot to learn, but you know, in just a few months, I'm finding things, and it seems like every day I get better at it, and I think the learning curve is a lot faster than I would have ever imagined for just a real neophyte, non-techie type person.
In this program, we're not going to attempt to wow you with technoid terms or concepts that only a computer science professor would appreciate. Our goal is to provide you with a solid introduction to what the internet is, where it evolved from, where it's heading as a marketing communication tool, and what it all might mean for your own situation. You might as well know from the start that the internet is still in its beginning stages, and it is not a perfect environment. It's not like the telephone company where you're connected each and every time to your desired connection.
When you're designing a website or a home page, probably even more consideration has got to go into the fact that how are we going to be found on the internet? The other aspect of the internet is the fact that information flows very slowly because we're basically, for the most part, using 14.4 modems. Now in the future, this won't be a problem when we have wider bandwidth transmitting information. So that you have a successful website or homepage, it's very important to make sure that the design doesn't contain too many photos or too many graphics that are going to take a long time to render.
Think of the internet as an adventure that rewards patience and determination. Many feel the internet will eventually change the way we communicate and conduct business forever. That's a pretty dramatic statement.
The internet provides a communication vehicle to a whole new audience. We have a lot of American families out there, or global families, who have PCs in their home right now. Those PCs are a communication device that can be used from a small business side or a large business side to communicate and market their products and services to that whole new audience.
The internet gives us a tremendous opportunity to level out those earning periods, because you've always got the internet marketing for you, even when you're out there delivering the product.
It's a relatively inexpensive way to reach a large number of people. The other one, for Microsoft, for example, for us, for helping people understand our products or get support, today a lot of people will spend time on hold on a telephone system, or if they're actually trying to access information during non-business hours. And the internet is a 7/24 operation that's always up all the time, and people can look at things when they want. As well as if the site they've designed is well designed, they can ask questions interactively as they go through. So that has some benefits. The content can be very appealing and interactive as opposed to like printed media today.
Imagine the power of marketing a product or communicating information through an interactive electronic brochure that contains text, graphics, photographs, and more. An electronic brochure that's permanent, available to millions on a global basis 24 hours a day, and is affordable enough for entrepreneurs, small businesses, or large organizations.
We saw that with a minimal amount of money, we could achieve a lot of things in a short period of time that maybe would have cost us a lot more and been a lot more work to do in different mediums and along different lines. In other words, we're killing many birds with one stone here, and we look as important as the next guy.
What exactly is the internet? How was it created? And how will it continue to grow? The internet dates back to the early 1960s, when the Advanced Research Projects Agency of the Department of Defense set out to develop a system of command and control that could operate even in the event of a nuclear attack. The idea was to design a network of computers that contained no hub or central switching. Early on, the system included universities and government agencies participating in military research. Even as late as 1989, this network of computers, now referred to as the Internet, involved only a few thousand computer techies. With the development of the World Wide Web and the recent creation of graphical interfaces such as Mosaic, navigating this information superhighway became greatly simplified so that anyone with a little practice could successfully navigate through it.
I heard a story about a restaurateur who was a chef and did not see any real advantages to getting online, but had a friend who said, "You really need to do this, let me put this up for you." And he has enjoyed it so much, and this person was a technophobe. This was not his thing, but he found that he was able to communicate with other chefs all around the world, that he could share information about how to get certain ingredients that he had a hard time getting, things like that, and it was just phenomenal. Here is someone who you would not think would be an immediate person to get online.
The World Wide Web was developed by CERN, the European Particle Physics Laboratory. They wanted to make it easier for physicists to share information in real time by being able to access the data that existed on computers that were networked together. The Mosaic browser was created by the National Center for Supercomputer Applications at the University of Illinois in 1993. With this, you could simply point and click your way to information that not only contained text, but also graphics. Commercial products such as Internet in a Box and Netscape, which are graphical-based tools for the Internet, have made a great contribution to this explosive growth. In late 1994, studies estimated that some 25 million Internet users worldwide were linked together through millions of host computers. Many estimates show the Internet growing at greater than 10% every month. However, a recent June 1995 Internet World article by Gary Wells estimated that 20 million Internet users had only email access, another 8 million text-only access, and 3 million were using the full graphical capabilities of a browser. Of course, the fastest growing part of the Internet is the World Wide Web. That segment allowing the user with browser software to surf the net or navigate from one server to another. A server being a host computer whose files are available through the Internet. These files graphically tell the world what your company is all about.
The wine business is a very complex business because there's so many wineries in the world, and people want so much information about wines. And I think especially the kind of people that will be interested in being on the Internet are going to have a lot of interest in the technical side of Hedges Cellars. And so we can put all that information we think they want easily in one place and increase certainly our marketing presence around the world and our sales. We have a full page order form, and it's enough information on there for them to order the wine, and we'll have on there the history of the company, which is unique and quite interesting. We've got lists of distributors all over the United States and around the world, and we've also got directions to both our tasting room in Issaquah and our new winery building over in Eastern Washington.
Traditionally, the internet has been heavily used by those in education, government research, and the military. However, with the development of graphical browsers, the growth in the number of consumer and commercial enterprises tied into the internet has exploded. To keep track of all the different groups that are represented on the internet, the domain name system was developed. You can tell an educational location by the suffix .edu at the end of their internet location or email address. For example, the internet location for the Smithsonian is si.edu. A commercial location on the internet will contain the .com domain. For example, Hollywood.com. Today, millions of consumers can access the internet through various options. Online services such as America Online, CompuServe, Prodigy, the Microsoft Network, or hundreds of dedicated internet service providers have sprung up across the country. They will, for a fee, provide you with an on-ramp to the internet. In addition to internet connection, direct service providers usually include an email box to receive and send email, and charge under $20 per month on average for up to 40 hours of internet usage. That means you can wander the world from Europe to Asia and across the USA for a relatively small amount. Not a bad investment. Windows 95 from Microsoft and IBM's OS/2 Warp operating software provides PC computer users with a seamless launch to the internet. It's estimated there are over 70 million computers using the Microsoft Windows operating system. And over time, as many as 40 million of those users will upgrade to Windows 95. This will give them seamless access to the internet. They can access the internet right from their Windows 95-based computer. This is another major reason why the internet is projected to continue to grow so rapidly. This dramatic increase in internet access for the average computer user has, of course, created unparalleled commercial, marketing, and communication opportunities for companies and organizations large and small to market their products or disseminate information around the corner or around the globe.
We attended last week something called the London Wine Trade Fair, which is one of the top wine shows in the world, and mentioned to customers and potential customers that we were now on the internet. And the response was wonderful. And there was nobody there that asked, well, what is the internet and what is this used for? Everybody knew.
Whether it's for small business, whether it's for a large business, the internet provides a tool for effective communication. A few years ago, there were only a couple million people out there using the internet. Now we're talking about millions. Those are new customers that are looking for information that can be communicated with in a whole new different way.
Someone comes to me and says, I generally do advertising, and I say, that's great, but let's take a look at some of the things that you might not be taking advantage of, such as the public relations aspect or the direct marketing aspect. And now, more and more these days, I'm saying to my clients, hey, what do you know about the online marketing? That's very important for you to learn about.
There are even opportunities for individuals to participate in one or more of the estimated 6,000 special interest news groups on every imaginable subject, and some unimaginable ones. They can exchange ideas online with thousands of other interested parties in their neighborhood or the other side of the globe.
And you have a question that maybe your own network of friends or colleagues can't answer, and you post it on there, and pretty soon, in a couple days, you'll get a response, maybe several responses from people with answers that you can use that are really valuable.
Like having a faculty of the world's finest experts available at your fingertips, you know, day and night.
Networking, I'm very excited about these possibilities of what I call virtual networking, is actually getting to know people and creating clients and colleagues online. You've never seen them before, but you have a very strong connection with them.
Besides using the internet as a marketing tool for a business, you can also use it to market yourself. Let's say one was interested in looking for career opportunities on the internet.
I think that the internet is a great tool for marketing oneself because you can use so many different facets in such a worldwide audience. The expansion and the instantaneousness of it, you know, the timeliness in that you can update yourself, and as you grow, you can daily change your resume if you wish. You can even put like a picture of yourself on, like if you get a home page on the World Wide Web. So it's being used as individual job seekers to market themselves more effectively and a lot faster.
If you are thinking about marketing a product or service across the internet, there are some important do's and don'ts to consider first.
Net etiquette or net etiquette is the idea that you have a certain set of rules that are unwritten. Some of them are written in a few of the guides on how you treat resources on the network. And resources are both individuals, corporations, and the actual network itself. That is not doing large mailings to people you don't know. That is like internet junk mail. Things like you don't actually sit on someone's site for multiple hours at a time, because if you're tying up that site, that's other people who are having limited access to the site. That you try not to do things, over-abuse any particular aspect of all the various resources on the internet, as well as you treat people, because that's what's on the other end of most of these communication channels, as you would expect to be treated.
Now you might be saying, this is all very interesting, but who's out there to market or communicate to as far as the demographics are concerned? It's pretty elementary to identify the market you are attempting to reach with your marketing dollars before making the investment. However, in the case of the internet, it's a difficult proposition to develop basic demographics. Who is your typical net surfer? Early studies suggested the web users were to a great extent young, educated males, members of households with an average annual income exceeding $80,000. The internet is growing so rapidly and its makeup changing that it's impossible to speak with any authority as to the internet's demographics today. Many marketers believe that with the cost of entry so low and with such a bright future for marketing and communicating online, why not get started now? Many leading marketers believe that the internet as a marketing communication tool is not going to go away.
Just don't get out there and create a worldwide website without first thinking it all the way through. How does it make sense for us? How does it fit into our total marketing strategy? Because the internet is just one more marketing tool in the basket. And the success of your internet efforts really is centered on the ability to make it a part of an integrated strategy.
Let's take a moment and look at a sampling of the products and services now offered for purchase on the internet through worldwide websites. What's a website, you ask? A worldwide website is one of the most significant advances related to the internet.
The basic premise of a worldwide website is to have a location that people can come to get information. And what's so powerful about using the internet and the World Wide Web is that site just has actual pointers to other sites that have other information. So for example, in the forest industry, where they're very concerned about how they're viewed as an environmental concern, they can actually have a pointer that talks about some of the environmental programs that, for example, Greenpeace or some other organization may own on their website. But to the user, it makes no difference. They just point and click, and it navigates them all around the world without them ever knowing where they have to go. And you can actually, use other people's information as it's updated instantaneously.
The web allows for an unlimited number of pages of information containing text, graphics, photos, audio, or even with some limitations, video to be distributed over the internet. The website visitor navigates from one page to another by selecting hypertext buttons or highlighted words on a page and clicking on it with your mouse. This retrieves the selected information from across town or across the world and displays it on the screen.
It offers you a great ability to maintain very affordable communication with your agents and distributors, not only for marketing and advertising points of view, but also training. Imagine the ability to issue service bulletins or technical information to help them troubleshoot your products wherever they are in the world. For example, one website we designed is used to educate attorneys and claims people in London, Tokyo, or across the United States and Canada to learn about a special type of annuity called a structure used in settling personal injury and other types of cases. The site even includes specific examples and is updated periodically. This encourages clients and potential clients to revisit the site often. Perhaps, who knows, even open a case one day over the internet.
Hypertext links are pointers to other documents located throughout a website or the entire internet. Web documents are built using hypertext markup language, or HTML. Like many aspects of the internet, HTML is still under development. The current generation is not a very flexible design tool and can be complicated to use for non-technoids. However, there are products available on the market that will help those of you that would like to create your own home pages. The main benefit of hypertext linking is that it has empowered millions of people with graphical browsers or text-based browsers to navigate from location to location. Marketers might think of attracting consumers who are browsing or surfing the net to their location as inbound direct marketing, where the consumer is in control.
Typically, our sales as a speaker are add-on to speeches that we've already given. On the internet, if they're interested in a topic that you speak on, they can dial you up and buy your products without ever having seen you in person. It's kind of like having a retail store operating 24 hours a day without the investment in the bricks and mortar and all of the things that go into having a retail store for people to buy from you.
And we can go directly to the consumer, which is very hard to do without the internet, because it's we have so many consumers that buy not huge dollar value of wine per year from us. This is a way to get to them without spending a lot of money.
As long as the consumer is interested, they will seek out your website until their interest is satisfied. How long a visitor stays in your site depends to a great extent on how interesting and functional it is. It's not unusual to frequently change the design or content in a website, so visitors will return often.
Technology allows a small business not only to be more competitive, but also take advantage of a global presence. The internet is a prime example. Email is one area that a small business can use to have a global presence. Whether it's I'm based in Redmond, Washington, and I need to communicate via email to another business in Tokyo, that's very easy. The next step would be to develop a homepage to where I could list my products and services and have it up and running as a marketing device 24 hours a day internationally, and so that people anywhere around the world can tap into my information.
A welcome page to a worldwide website is often referred to as a home page. Many home pages or welcome screens may be contained in websites that deal with areas of common interest. One such website is industry.net. This site contains individual companies, products, publications, and general news relating to industry. A site can also be a collection of individuals who share a common marketing need, such as publicspeaker.com, which is a collection of speakers on many different subjects.
I like marketing on the internet because it gives people an opportunity to come and find me. Using the Public Speaker website, I can be available to customers all over the world 24 hours a day. One of the problems I've always had as a speaker is when I'm giving a speech, I can't do any marketing. The internet enables the marketing efforts to go on even while you're out speaking and delivering a product.
There are also websites that contain a variety of products and services. From these electronic malls, you can order anything from CDs and gourmet coffee to flowers and camping gear. You might think of a website as a book, and home pages in a website like pages of a book. Visibility is important on the internet. If a great-looking website never gets visited, it won't be successful. It would be like putting an advertisement in a magazine that's never mailed to its subscribers. There are several ways to try and obtain visibility on the internet. Putting pointers on the internet that will point to your website. Through keyword searches on various databases, such as Yahoo, an index of almost 30,000 locations on the internet and growing every day. Marketers and other communicators will also want to drive traffic to their site by publicizing their internet address in other media, such as print, video, TV, etc. Business Week now lists the worldwide websites of its advertisers as a service. In a way, the internet offers smaller companies the greatest opportunities because nothing levels the playing field between small and larger businesses like the internet. Where else can David compete with Goliath more effectively? No other medium offers the smallest entity such mammoth potential exposure.
Technology is allowing the small business to compete more effectively against the larger business, therefore leveling that playing field. That's great, but it's also, technology is also then allowing the barriers of entry to be lowered so that a number or a large number of small businesses now are competing for that same piece of the pie.
Since it is an equal playing field, how do you get advantage? And the best way to get advantage, which is true of anything else, is you write really good content. And that's where a lot of people have fallen into a trap where they just think putting up a home page is something. Well, it's kind of like the yellow pages. Everybody can have their name in the yellow pages. It's writing something that makes people want to come back to your place, and which is true of any endeavor in marketing, right? Is that you create content that's appealing and that provides people with the information they want, and they'll come back.
The cost of entry to market or communicate on the internet is not a deterrent to participation. An effective website can be constructed starting under $5,000, with a homepage presence starting under $1,000. Of course, more complex websites could cost $20,000 to $100,000 or more. There are qualified worldwide web developers located in every major city. The experienced developers know how to make sure your website will work with all browsers, and also will look acceptable when accessed by a text-only browser. A good designer will use only graphics which add to your message and will avoid graphics that exceed 25,000 kilobytes. Large graphic files will discourage visitors to your site because they will take too long to appear on the screen. Remember, for now, most people will be using a 14.4K or slower modem to access your website. So make sure your site is attractive, but is not so graphic intensive that your visitors to your site get impatient waiting for the graphics to appear. There are many websites today that also contain audio or even video capabilities. Video is still a long way from being easily transmitted over the internet due to the extensive bandwidth required to transmit a video file and the vast amounts of storage it takes to store a video file. The highest profile a company, organization, or individual can have on the internet is your own registered domain name. The domain name becomes part of your email address and indicates that you are committed to your presence on the internet. It is registered with the Internet Registry. Let's say, for example, your company is called Dynamic Incorporated, and you would like to have a worldwide website created for your company. Step 1 is to register your domain name. The stampede to register domain names is so great that it's often referred to as the Oklahoma land rush of cyberspace. Registering your domain name is very important. Once it's registered, it's yours. Your local internet service provider can help you with the registration, and this charge is usually less than $100. We have now registered the company in our example as dynamic.com. Using your domain name, you are able to register a server, placing you at the top of the pyramid with the highest visibility possible on the internet. The server storing your website can be located and accessed from anywhere in the world by simply entering http:// www.dynamic.com in an internet lookup. Think of a website as you would a book, and a home page like a page of a book. You can find the whole book easier than finding a particular page containing information in that book. Having a website means that you will also now have the cost of maintaining it. This means providing server space on which to locate your worldwide website and an adequate amount of transmission capability or bandwidth to transmit information from our server connected to other servers on the Internet. There are Internet service providers across the country that will provide you with a server and maintain it for you for a monthly fee, which can average about $300 per month. A relatively low cost to maintain the highest level visibility for your company or organization on the Internet. To find a home page on the Internet involves knowing the exact address. Remember, a misplaced period or comma in typing an Internet address, and you might as well have typed the whole name backwards, because you won't get where you want to go. By the way, a document address we've been describing is called a URL, for Uniform Resource Locator. You might have someone ask you for your company or organization's URL. They mean your Internet address. URLs on the World Wide Web begin with different designations that will allow you to access different types of documents. For example, to go to Time Magazine's website on the Internet, we type http://www.timeinc.com. The prefix goes before the domain name, and the domain, meaning commercial site, goes after it. Other URLs allow access to file transfer sites for downloading files, or give you access to thousands of news groups. Confused? Don't worry. After a very short time using the Internet, this will all be second nature to you. Sending and receiving electronic messages is still the most used function of the Internet. Email offers unique advantages for communicating. For example, it's easy to use, not distance sensitive, which means it doesn't cost any more to send email across the country than across the street, and takes only a few seconds to distribute. It can be just as effective both externally and internally.
Well, email is one of the most powerful communication devices that a small business can use. It's also the easiest thing to access in the Internet. For small business, it opens up the playing fields to talk to other small businesses. It also opens up the playing field for small business to communicate as an outside resource for large business. An example of how Microsoft uses email, we live by it. I don't get a lot of paper across my desk, but I do get 100 to 150 different electronic messages a day. And that's for working internally. I can also use email to communicate with other resources or vendors outside of Microsoft. Let me give you an example of how I do that. Let's say that I'm developing an invitation for an event that I'm doing. In the past, I would call up that printer, give them the information, or maybe even send them a fax, and they would go ahead and draft something up and send it back to me. We'd go through a few reiterations of that. Now, I simply send them the idea on email, very concisely, what I'm looking for. They develop it, let's say in Microsoft Publisher, send it back to me on email. I can review it, okay it, or make modifications, and send it back to them for printing. It simplifies that whole process of communication.
An email address is different from a website address. It's important to know the difference. One is like a street address, the other like a P.O. box. If dynamic.com was a domain on the Internet, the address or URL of a website would be http://www.dynamic.com. Emails sent to this location on the Internet would read like this: moreinfo@dynamic.com. Many companies, organizations, and individuals may want to market on the Internet, to develop leads rather than to sell an item or service directly. It's very important in lead generating that you qualify your prospect. An email box full of unqualified messages is counterproductive.
Now, from time to time, I hear these statistics about people saying, well, our website, we get this thousand many hits a week. A hit in Internet language means people accessing the information in your website. Well, if they're totally unqualified hits, using that terminology. What does this really mean to a marketer? Frankly, it doesn't mean a lot. So it's very important that to take advantage of the interactive aspect of what the internet offers a company, a marketer, by trying to develop quality leads. One way would be to not just have an email launch that you can get requests from people off the internet, but actually have a form in there which the prospect or the person that's interested in information from you actually tells you their name, their address, their title, who they are, before they launch the email message to you. This way, when you receive that message, you have some idea of who's asked you for the information.
The suggestion here is that you use an email form that the prospect completes before it's sent, identifying who they are and what they're interested in. This will help them get a more speedy answer and you to sort through your leads. You might even decide to pre-sort your email by having various email addresses available, such as moreinfo@dynamic.com, sales@dynamic.com, or service@dynamic.com. One aspect of the internet that requires a certain amount of caution is the area of security. Security is a key consideration for most companies contemplating an internet presence. In fact, many companies keep their internet websites outside their computer network systems. Such a computer server might even be located off-site at an internet service provider.
A lot of people like to keep them separate, and there's really a multitude of ways to do that. I mean, obviously, people want to have a presence on the internet, so do they open up their network to the internet? Do they build a demilitarized zone between their network and the internet, or do they just maintain them completely separate and just rent space from somebody else, some service provider? All three are viable approaches. If all you want to do is publish, renting space is a very reasonable option. It certainly reduces security issues. It's a very cost-effective way of doing it. However, if you're interested in getting the benefits of connecting to the network to your client or your customer base, well, then you're back to, you probably want to hook up your corporate LAN through some, security island, demilitarized zone technique, because then not only are you publishing, but you're giving research, business access, etc., for users who need, information on competitors or communicating with their customers outside their own corporate LAN.
Let's just say that security is an issue, and there are many effective ways to ensure security, such as utilization of passwords where necessary, or building network traffic hardware and software controls into the system, sometimes called firewalls. Data encryption, a common scenario used by law firms utilizing the internet, is also used. Your EDP department or local internet service provider can give you more assistance on the security issue. The security issue also applies to placing an order over the internet with a credit card. The recommendation for now is not to use a credit card in placing purchases via the internet at this time. New software that will provide much greater security for items ordered via credit card is close to being commercially available. Plus, the development of an electronic currency for purchases made on the internet is not far away. In the meantime, order from the 1-800 number typically listed in websites, or email a request for a return call so purchase details can be worked out. You can also use the internet for research of all types. For instance, access government databases for export information, or the Small Business Administration on SBA loan programs. There are hundreds of other valuable resources available on the internet for businesses, organizations, or individuals.
One of the real exciting things for a speaker is being able to do a lot of research without having to go to the library, try to operate all the different machines that they have in the library. I can just plug in my laptop and access libraries around the world and all types of databases, and it is a very efficient and also it's a very, I think, cost-effective way of doing research, and I'm really enjoying it.
Much of this information can be downloaded to your own computer through an FTP connection. An FTP connection, which means File Transfer Protocol, allows you to download files, photos, graphics, drawings, etc. A company or organization can build an FTP launch in their website to transfer information to their agents and distributors through password-protected access or anonymous access provided for information useful to the general public. Think of the Internet as a two-way communication link. In certain parts of the world, such as Europe, where deregulation of the telephone industry has not occurred, the cost of using the Internet can be 10 times what it is in the U.S. and Canada. So keep this in mind when communicating by email. Sending long-winded email messages that are costly to be retrieved may not be appreciated. If you anticipate visitors to your website from countries with higher costs of communicating than North America, this is another reason to design a website that will render promptly to the screen. So, here we are. If you had an Internet connection today, in the time it has taken to watch this video, you could have done any of the following right from your own computer. Do research at the Smithsonian. Check out a movie start time. Order dinner. Look for a new car. Send email to David Letterman. Read a magazine article. Check into the latest weather. Buy a case of wine. Look for a new house. Chat about fly fishing with a friend in Canada, or send email to your daughter at college. Not bad. So what are you waiting for? The best way to learn about the Internet is to log on.
When we typically think of the Internet, we think of the global aspects of it, marketing and communicating around the world. But really, the Internet offers a unique opportunity even in a regional marketing plan or a local marketing plan. Imagine, for example, well, just look at some of the restaurants that are actually marketing their menu on the Internet. And they may be only trying to reach people within a 10 or 12 mile radius and are doing it successfully.
If there's an appropriate bulletin board for them, sure, they can hone in on a whole group of people who all live in the city and can actually send out what their menus are, what their specials are, receive information, their orders, so that they can get them out immediately.
The Internet access market is made up of companies that provide the link to access the Internet. These companies range from online services to telephone companies to small entrepreneurial Internet service providers. Forrester Research Incorporated, a market research company based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, estimates that the Internet access market will grow from $123 million in 1995 to more than $4 billion by the end of the decade.
I think 5 years from now we'll see a lot of really interesting applications like collaborative learning with students around the world. I think you'll see things like electronic commerce in full swing where you can order product, I mean the QVN of the Internet if you want, as well as even electronic banking. I know all the banking industries and everyone's working on how do you do this online, be able to do things from the site, and that's where I think things will go.
So if you're not on the Internet today, call an online service such as America Online, CompuServe, Prodigy, or Microsoft Network, or connect direct with a local Internet provider and start surfing. For most companies or organizations, being on the Internet is not a question of if, but when. Remember a while back when you had to decide if a fax machine was going to be a worthwhile business tool for you? Now you wonder how you ever lived without it. You're going to feel the same way about the Internet, the ultimate marketing and communication tool. Why not put it to work for you?